it's very important to know. IntelliTravel will never hold commission. The only reason why IntelliTravel will hold commission is because either number one, the commission has not been paid to us from the partner, or number two, you haven't registered it properly, or number three, you've done something you weren't supposed to do, and we withheld your commission, okay? And all those reasons you will find out from us. So there's no, IntelliTravel's been in business for over 35 years. We're not in the business to hold people's commission, so please understand that, okay? And then how to market group, the do's and don'ts, and the groups of our information. So we're going to go over all that. So just some similar ideas that know. Ocean cruises, usually the we're talking about 62 shadow that qualifies. This is yes. For example, Carnival's groups department, they say you're maxed out on the sailing bit. Please send me an email and let me know. Have the group portal and make sure that there's any agent that group. Later on down we want some sides of cabins too. So sometimes and inventory they're saying any double maxed out, there's no other group space. You cannot go and book your cabins into Jessica's group. That's one thing you need to understand. Okay? Yeah, Jessica's telling me, no. Because the Carnival to be the commission, Jessica is the owner of the group, okay? So we do not pay agents multiple commissions, especially when it's paid to the owner of the group. So you cannot book into another agent's commission. Now, we know Jessica, we love Jessica, but Jessica may have a very bad day that day. She finds out that she booked cabins into it, says, this ain't happening. Starts canceling out the cabins that she booked into them. Ultimately, what's happening now is the consumer's being affected. That's something we don't ever want to happen, okay? So we don't ever believe that our agents, we don't believe that there's any intentions, but intention to anything to do that. But we want to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen. So make sure that you're staying in your lane. Book your own groups. Don't get involved in somebody else's groups. Unless it's a situation where the partner does pay to individual reservations, like just like Sarah was talking about earlier and Jim was talking about yesterday, and talking about when there's a situation where the partner pays to individual reservations, then you can have multiple agents looking into one group because they're going to pay to each individual reservation. The other thing is, which is very important, how many people in the room know about our consortium Travel Leaders Network? Okay. Not as many as I like, but that's okay. Yeah, that's not as many as I like, but that's okay. So Travel Leaders Network is our consortium, it's our VIP exclusive consortium, and it is in the back office. If you go into book the Travel Leaders Network page. In that page, there's a lot of things that the Travel Leaders Network can do for you, but I'm just going to go on just a little bit on it. Most importantly, if you're in a situation where there's individual or group space, you get into a situation that there's no space, go to Travel Leaders Network. This Travel Leaders Network blocks space on thousands of cruise lines, thousands of tours, and thousands of resorts all over. Okay, so if you can't get that space, you can see if they have that space. You can look into their space, and especially if it's a cruise, and most instances when it's a resort, they also offer amenities, on-board credits, credits at the resort, that kind of stuff. Spa discounts, things like that. So you need to make sure that you're looking at Travel Leaders Network as well. And when you're booking into a Travel Leaders Network, you're not booking itself into Travel Leaders Web Network. So let's say we'll use Royal Caribbean as an example. And if you try to get a group on Royal Caribbean, let's say on the Wonder of the Seas, one of the newer ships, it's hard to get space on it. So if there's no space on it, I go with Travel Leaders Network. And you can filter the ship in TLN. And you can put down Wonder of the Seas sailing date. It's going to identify the Royal Caribbean group number. Then you pick up the phone or you go into Expresso. You pull up that group number, and then you can book your cabin into the Travel Leaders Network group. Okay, you're still going to get commission because you're going to register that booking by the individual reservation number. Okay, and you're also going to get the amenities, which is always an optional credit Travel Leaders Network offers. Okay, so just because there's no group space directly to partner, always go to Travel Leaders Network to see what they have. Okay. There are all kinds of videos that you can watch pertaining to groups with Travel Leaders Network, as well as individual reservations with Travel Leaders Network in the Intelligent Tutorial Library. I encourage you. This is so important. Make sure you take the time when you guys go back and watch it, because you're missing out on opportunities if somebody's come to you for space and you haven't been able to offer it. Trust me, there is space out. Okay. When we're talking about river cruises, a lot of them start minimum cap is 5. That's 10 people. I mean, that is really, it's really easy to book, and also their comps are very, very low as well. How many comps that you get? So, vacations and tours, depending upon the resort, for example, Vacation Express or Apple Leisure Group, it could be a minimum. I've seen it as low, which I always cringe when I see it. I've seen it as low as minimum requirement is 5 rooms. Generally, it's 10 rooms at the resorts. And usually it's 10 rooms or 20 rooms for complimentary. These are all, again, how to qualify. Somebody just says, it's my family of 2 rooms. Well, I'm not going to, grab room space or something like that. I'll book it individually. Now, partners like Apple Leisure Group and Vacation Express give you the option because they have that are non-contracted bookings that you can make. And once you get enough to convert, you can convert them into an actual contract. So they give you those opportunities. Okay. And then please, like I said, check availability with Travel Leaders Network. Carnival and MSC Cruises do not participate, and NCL do not participate in Travel Leaders Network. So it's important to know that. Okay, so how to obtain a quote. And I'm going through the basics. But this is talking about groups, and I think a lot of you understand how to do this kind of stuff. You're going to get on the phone or you're going to go through the portal and see, how do I actually obtain a group quote from them? Sometimes it's a matter of filling out a form. Sometimes it's just filling out how many you need, how many rooms, what resort, what room categories on a cruise is, what, categories you need, ship and a sailing date. It's very, very easy. But again, make sure that you have qualified that this is an actual group because you don't want to fill space, okay? And then in most instances, you'll get a quote back, especially if it's something like from ALG or something from Vacation Express. You'll get a quote. You're going to review the quote. If the quote looks good and you've got, your clients have agreed to it, then you move forward and say, okay, I want to move to a contract. Understand, let's say, for example, that the partner tells you final payment due date is going to be, June 15th. Well, I would tell my clients when I'm quoting them, your final payment is going to be due June 1st. You always should be looking at a 2-week window, allowing yourself, no matter what booking, whether it's an individual booking or a group booking, give yourself that 14 days buffer. People are never on time when it comes to show me the money. You know, you want to give yourself that 2 weeks buffer so that you're able to meet that deadline. Because if you've not collected final payments at final payment time, you either got to release space, got to cancel cabins, you know, or you start going into penalties. Remember, if you're signing a contract, whether it's with our partners, it's not going to be with our cruise lines, because the only time you sign a cruise line contract is if you're chartering a ship. And if you're chartering a ship, I can't wait. Involved with that. But most instances, you're chartering, if you're signing a contract, it's with one of our partners. And once you're signing a contract, you and I are signing it together. Remember, we're financially liable for this contract. So you want to make sure. So what I've also suggested to agents is I have a template that I'd be more than happy to send to anybody. And it's an example of a contract that you can use to have between you and the client. So if you're looking at this Vacation Express contract, you're looking at everything in the attrition and the cancellation and the terms and all that. So I would be bumping everything up by 2 weeks. And then I would be taking the snippets from the inventory and the dates of travel and the pricing and putting it actually on this document I have. And then I would have that group leader sign it. That way the group leader signing it, assuming financial liability, as well as you're signing it. Because you're also going to be signing one with the partner as well as me. Okay? But this way, you know, you've got the client that's, you know, when they turn around and say, well, I didn't really agree that we had to have everything 2 weeks in advance. Well, no, here it is. You signed it. Here's the information. Okay? It's going to protect you in the long run. Now, one thing I didn't bring up yesterday, somebody kind of like covered it a little bit yesterday. I think Jessica did actually. I'm a firm believer because I've, like I said, I've been in the industry such a long time. Any group, whether it's a cruise or a tour or whatever package or whatever it is, you as a travel agent, you are the professional travel agent. You can make insurance mandatory. You know, when I was a travel agent, I made insurance mandatory because I was booking trips overseas. I didn't want anybody leaving the United States without insurance going overseas. You as a travel agent, you can make it mandatory. And you can have it totaled, including the price of their package. The only thing you have to do is you have to disclose it. Just want you to let you know, Jessica, the total price of the package is $1,200, which doesn't include insurance. Now, Jessica pushes back and says, well, Cheryl, you know, I was hoping to save a little bit of money. I'm really not interested in insurance. I say, you know what, Jessica? This is the total package price that I'm offering. It does include insurance. If you're not happy with that, just let me know and get back to me when you're ready to book it, because this is going to be a total price. Yeah. You know, you have to push back because ultimately, number one, you're protecting the client. Number two, you're protecting you, because if it's a group, for example, let's say, for example, with Vacation Express, and your minimum group was this room types, or minimum rooms was 10 rooms. Jessica's waiting for it. And now it comes down, Jessica decides to cancel. Well, now she's canceling. She's got no insurance. It now reduces your group down to 9. The resort comes back and says, you have to have 10 rooms. Okay, so now you're going to affect the rest of the other 8 rooms because they've fallen down below the group rate. So there's always a reason behind that. It's so much easier just to say, well, you know, if you're not, you know, not interested in paying this price, then I'm sorry, I just can't book with you right now. That's all. You know, I hate to say it, but sometimes you have to take that stance because it will protect you, and ultimately it protects the client in the long run. When I'm talking about insurance, I'm talking about the waivers like Appalachian Group and Vacation Express offer. Now, they offer these waivers that will allow you to cancel for any reason prior to 24 hours prior to the trip. One of them is a travel credit, which is always less expensive, and the other one is gives you your full refund back, obviously, both of them minus the premium for the insurance. So I always recommend the higher of the two. Why? Because in talking to consumers, when they call to complain about the travel agent that didn't offer them that insurance, and they would rather have their money back, that's what they always say. Well, should they offer me more? The more I would pay more because I want my money back. I don't have to worry that I have to travel in the next, 395 days and I have to give them credit. What if I'm not able to visit the travel? So again, that's something else you need to think about. Okay? Anybody wants to go further with me on that, you can always contact me. We'll go through that again. So group contracts, again, you are not permitted to be the singular signer of any group contracts. They have to come to the groups department, I have to be able to review it. And then deposited, non-deposited groups, so some of our cruise lines partners, if you do not deposit on your group, in other words, you know, some of our partners like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, they might offer $25 or $50 per person, per cabin to hold the inventory. If you do not deposit those groups, in most instances, you're not going to get any amenities. You know, it could be gap points, points that you can use towards your credits, points you can use towards cocktail parties, that kind of stuff. So you are losing out if you don't, but you know, try and collect the deposit into a deposit group. Non-deposited groups do not get any amenities other than if you earn a you'll still get a tour conductor credit. And I'm going to reiterate what I said again yesterday. Tour conductor credits can be used to, for example, there's a group leader on the trip and you can give the tour conductor credit to the group leader, or you can have it come back as additional commission to IntelliTravel, and IntelliTravel does not take a split. Okay, you do receive that 100% back. Okay. All right, and then we're talking about cabin assignments. You know, this is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of agents do. They'll book a cruise, like say, for example, with hold inventory on a cruise, for example, and it could be a year in advance, it could be a brand new ship, and they'll put the initial deposit up, and then it gets close to hard payment, and they finally start making the bookings, decide, oh, okay, Susie finally wants to go, she's finally given me the full deposit, so now I can go in and grab her cabin and assign her cabin to, you know, actually to her. What happens is because so much time has passed, there's no more inventory. And it doesn't mean anything that you already booked deposited the inventory. If you haven't gone and assigned and pulled the cabins out of the inventory and assigned them to people with a full deposit on that cabin, you can end up, and I've seen it happen to a lot of agents, where you've got nothing. There's no more space left. The only thing that's left is guarantees. You know, and so if somebody wanted an actual cabin assignment midship and wanted to be on this deck, you're going to end up with nothing. So don't let that kind of stuff sit. If you're going to work a group, work with your group. You know, start getting in touch with the people and say, look, I've got a really great midship cabin. Here's what you need. You got to give me $250 deposit per person. If I grab the cabin today, you got 7 days to get me in the cabin, the deposit, and we're good to go. There's great midship cabins. Because they are eventually going to go. So that's what that means. And again, I always suggest registering upon the minute you book. The minute you get your confirmation from the cruise line, from the tour partner, whoever, your group confirmation, register it. You now have the collateral that tells you how to register it, whether you register individually or whether group number. Deadlines. Remember I just said about the 14 days. Set all deadlines 14 days earlier. Some instances, some of our partners have a second deposit required. Some of them even have a third deposit required, and then the final payment. You need to remember, push all these dates up 14 days. My staff, I'm going to tell you, they're bulldogs. They learn from the best, and they're going to be in your face. They're going to call you up and they're going to say, "Hey, how's it going? What's the status of the group? Just check it. Yep, your second deposit's coming up. It looks like it's 8,000. How much you got?" They're going to be coming after you. Yeah. Because we got to make sure that we meet those deadlines. That make the second deposit, here comes third deposit, another 8,000. Yeah. Hey, what's going on? How we doing? You got that 8,000 coming up? And don't be afraid to talk to us. Don't be afraid to let us know. If you're having problems, you're struggling with this group. The group leader's not getting back to you. You don't know what to do. You know, you're kind of like, you feel like you're in a safety shift. We're always going to throw you a life preserver. Sometimes we get to a point that I have to have a conversation with the group leader and the travel agent, find out what's going on. Sometimes there's a miscommunication with them. Sometimes it's just they've got the wrong information. Or sometimes it's falling apart. Like I've had that we heard the other day, where the bride and groom blew up, you know what I mean? There was no more wedding. Everybody still wanted to go, but when the groom just this wanted to go here, this wanted to go there, you know, they wanted to be on this side of the tower, that was a mess. So sometimes those kind of things happen. If we say we must have come there, I want to get out of it, you need to communicate with us. You may need our help. You may have to step in, and you may have to call the partner and say, look, I think we need to push an extension, maybe another week or something. let's see if we can give a little bit longer to collect that second deposit. You know, so make sure, you know, communicate with us. Biggest thing, biggest pet peeve of mine is you don't communicate with us, let us know what's going on, because we are here alone, okay? We talked about insurance, I'm not gonna go over all about that. We talked about net fare, remember, it is a violation of the teletravel policy to pay anything to net. Tour conductors, we already talked about, other than the fact is, I understand, like on a cruise line, it is gonna be a net fare when it comes out, is what the tour conductor value, is they take the commission out of it, but that value you do get at 100%. If you are using it towards your cruise, you still will be responsible for tax and government fees, right? Cancellations, if you're canceling a group, the client is canceling with you, I would highly recommend, you know, if the client calls up and says, you know, I want to cancel, I don't want to go on that group anymore, have them put you in writing. Because sometimes they, you know, a week later they decide, you know, I still want to go, and then they deny they ever told you that they were canceling, and you've already canceled them out. Make sure you have them put it in writing so you have some documentation. Same thing with if you've got to provide that documentation to the partner. In writing, you know, you can call them on the phone, pull it up in writing, say, as per our telephone conversation, booking number, blah, 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 needs to be canceled. Okay. This we talked about, booking into another group. Violators and booking into another group can be terminated. Very, very important that you don't do that. It's happened more time than we care to say, so I'm not going to be looking further on that. And then we talked about paying to net, you all know that. Cigarette signer contracts, we know all of that. Contract with the group. This talks about, you know, secure space and guaranteed rates. That's the reason why you do a contract to do. Okay. So I'm not a contracted group. What most of our partners is like a promo code, and you can book that, and you can book 5 or 6 bookings today at $1,500. A week from now, it could be $1,800. 2 weeks from now, it could be $2,100. 3 weeks from now, it could be $3,000. So it doesn't secure the rate, it doesn't lock in the inventory. A contracted group locks in your pricing, locks in your inventory. But if you've got a group that is wishy-washy and they don't quite know what they want to do, I would always go with a non-contracted group, because then there's no financial liability to anybody, including you. They just get a promotion code, promo code. If they book, they book. If they don't, they don't. And that's the best way to go there. Collecting payments. Okay, this is ultra important. Again, you're never allowed to collect direct payments from your clients. Cash App, Zelle, you know, Venmo, Uno, whatever it is. You're not allowed to collect ever direct payments from anybody, okay? It's a no-no. And Travel Joy is not an approved platform. So if you're using Travel Joy, stop. We have the program in IntelliSpark and Dropify. We're happy to use that program. It's supported by IntelliTravel. If you are using Travel Joy, you really need to stop, because it's going to get you into a heat of trouble at some point. There are situations where clients are disputing charges, and if a client disputes a charge that is involved in Travel Joy is going to lock down your account, and you're going to be held financially responsible for refunding not only the chargeback to the partner, but also the clients. So if you want to talk to me further about that, please do, but that is definitely, you have to go away from Travel Joy. Okay. And again, you always must collect the IntelliTravel credit card authorization form. In case there is a dispute, then we're more apt to be able to work with you at it and can help you fight it with the partner to find out what's going on, but you have to have that documentation. It's ultra important. Okay. And then we talked about this yesterday, how to submit a ticket. Commissions, you know, you're going to submit a ticket in the back office to the commissions department, provide as much information as you possibly can, you know, whether it's a check number, the date, the amount, so forth. It's ultra important that you provide all this information. Hotels, don't do a ticket first, contact the hotel. Are you missing a W-9? Are you missing an invoice? And then go back in the back office and submit a ticket for those, okay? Ultra important. This is what delays a lot of things, is because you don't have provided the correct or enough information to our commission so that they can research. Okay. And then I already gave the information about how to register a group. And this group of contracts, I'm not going to read that whole thing. That's the documentation collateral I gave you guys yesterday. Okay, and then that's exactly the same page on yesterday. blah, blah, blah. And then we talked about the trees and goats, that's just what he's like. "Wait, what are we doing?" So we talked about the trees and goats, gross and everything came, net and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not gonna repeat that. And, how the support again, if you need us in the groups department, submit a ticket in the back office, myself or my team will get back to you right away. We are always less than 24 hours. We will get back to whatever you need. And remember, we have a dedicated home page in the back office. Please do not forget, okay? And that is it. And thank you guys.